Alright, sorry everyone for starting almost 20 minutes late. It's a lot of technical difficulties, and plus, I had to do a lot of final preparation for the show. Not only that, but as well as a lot of house cleaning around my house. So, I do apologize for the lateness on my end. So, without any further ado, welcome to the second rendition of DylanLasagna Live, which is not sponsored, by the way, and let's try to keep it that way. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting Memorial Day weekend because, well, I honestly don't have anything interesting on my end, but it's a wrestling interesting weekend centered because Double or Nothing, it's the debut of All Elite Wrestling in Las Vegas, live on pay-per-view for $50. And it's gonna be very intriguing to see like what All Elite Wrestling has in store. So we're gonna be talking a little bit about that because yeah, I just want to give my little 2 cents on that topic. Plus, the story that I want to give my several cents on, which is mostly my like long form discussion on about, is the WWE, because this was the discussion that I wanted to have with all of you about today. I could have done it in a video, but I feel like doing it here in a more free-forming fashion would have been a little bit better in my opinion. So, without any further ado, let's get started. But I do want to say this first. I am a little bit relieved that I am done with school for the time being. I do have to go back in 2 weeks, but I mean it's just summer. It's just summer term, so I'm doing this like activity based course, so it hopefully goes well with that. And then that's pretty much it. But yeah, I think I'm hoping to have a set like day for this weekly live stream because I really want to do this live stream on a weekly basis, and hopefully to do it more on a like a bi-daily basis. I don't know how, like on a every other day basis, like down the line, like every other day. But hopefully I can get like a set date every week. Like for now, it's like I'm temporarily doing it every Thursday because every day can change from when I can do a live stream like this for all of you. But before I could move on to the main story for today, thank you to everyone who tuned in to the very first live stream of DylanLasagna Live. And again, I hope to have better equipment down the road. So now, moving forward, let's talk about the WWE. My fandom, my history with the WWE. I also want to talk about some of the struggles that WWE is currently facing. This is kind of like the title of the video, why the WWE really sucks right now, in my opinion, because it honestly does. It really sucks. But we'll get into that later in the discussion of this live stream. But here we go. So I have in my notes here of my story of how I became a wrestling fan, but that was like over 13 years ago how I became a wrestling fan. And I was trying when I was doing preparation for this stream. I'm trying to remember like almost every little detail of how I became a fan, but it's not impossible, but it's like it's hard to remember every little detail. So here's my like remembrance of it, if that's a word. So I started watching wrestling back in 2006. I was in the third grade. I remember the exact month I started watching it. It was in January of 2006. And I was watching it, and I was just flipping through channels. And one night, like me as a kid, I just flipped through channels on a Friday night, trying to see what the next good thing is. But pretty much, one night I came across Friday Night SmackDown. Yes, that's how it was back then. Tate, by the way, Tate with spoilers, which I didn't know back then. And I digress. It's going to Fox back on Friday nights. But again, I saw Friday Night SmackDown on UPN, which was the CW back at the time, Channel 12 in my local Bay Area. That's when I saw Rey Mysterio, my all-time favorite wrestler, just because he's simply the wrestler that I grew up with and known to love for. I think he was that episode where he was competing in a battle royale for the World Heavyweight Championship, which was won by Kurt Angle. It was either that episode or the following episode after that. I forgot what happened in that episode, but it was pretty cool seeing Rey Mysterio doing all these moves, including the 619. So that kind of got me turned on into wrestling. And then I watched a little bit of Friday Night SmackDown every other week because I sometimes forgot that I fell in love with wrestling, because wrestling was kind of it slowly grew into me. So when moving on to that, when Mysterio won the Royal Rumble, I was excited, I was happy. And then when I noticed there were more wrestlers than Mysterio, like Randy Orton, it's like he was basically the villain to Mysterio. I was like, oh, Randy Orton, ew. So it was pretty, it was like a very interesting show to watch. And then when I saw other wrestlers like The Undertaker and eventually Batista when he came back from injury, then that's when I started to really get into WWE and wrestling and into it more. So, and then I started watching SmackDown on a more weekly basis when every Friday night. And some of the superstars that I liked were obviously Mysterio, Batista, The Undertaker, Chris Benoit before we all know what happened to him, Matt Hardy, and I forgot who else. Oh, I guess to some extent Bobby Lashley, but then again, that was when I was very young. And I guess Booker T. And then during the summer, I would tune into Monday Night Raw, because during the Mondays I couldn't watch because it was a school night. I got introduced to Monday Night Raw, where I saw DX, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, Edge, and then when Randy Orton went to Raw, and then the likes of Carlito, Shelton Benjamin, Trish Stratus, Lita, Mickey James, and then the man himself, the first face of the WWE that I got introduced to, John Cena. Of course, at my age, John Cena was one of my guys as well. But yeah, that's kind of how I got introduced to the WWE. I was kind of in love with it because I got all the action figures, especially my first one was Rey Mysterio, until I broke the leg. And then I couldn't. Where was I with my point? So my point was I first started watching wrestling when I just randomly saw it. So pretty much continuing on with my wrestling history. Man, I can't speak today. My history with wrestling is that as a kid, I couldn't watch the pay-per-views. I had to pretty much, every time a pay-per-view came on, because at the time, remember, we didn't have the WWE Network in the late 2000s, before 2010. We didn't have the WWE Network. We still had WWE on pay-per-views for $50 or $60, and no way were my parents gonna let me buy that. So I pretty much had to go to WWE.com, and every Sunday night there was a pay-per-view, and like hit the refresh button every time there was a match. I remember that so bad. So pretty much like every time there was a pay-per-view, I'll be like, oh, I gotta hit the refresh button, and like, oh man, this happened. How could I miss it? And then I would go on the internet to see if there was a pay-per-view match uploaded to YouTube or something, and obviously there wasn't. And I tried to see if there was like a stream of it on the internet, but I guess at the time there wasn't, because I don't know, the internet wasn't that advanced at the time. Who knows? But anyway, there were a lot of interesting like storylines at the time, like the John Cena Shawn Michaels WrestleMania story, Batista and Undertaker. Of course, the Rey Mysterio angle for the World Heavyweight Championship, especially after Eddie Guerrero passed away. But I just can't, like, at the time it was a cool story, like, but I just didn't like how they used Eddie Guerrero as like a plot hole a lot. Batista coming back, that was pretty cool as one of my stories, as one of the stories. And hey, who's that in the chat? Call me Boba. Booyaka booyaka, yeah, that's right. And what else happened? Oh yeah, DX. Yeah, DX was also one of my. Actually, that was during my childhood. That was my top favorite like storyline of like growing up, because I don't know. I obviously saw like later on when I grew up, I saw like the original DX and I liked that, but I just connected with the DX versus McMahon's more for some reason. I mean, as much as I like the Attitude Era DX, like when they invaded WCW and did all these impersonations of like the corporation and the Nation of Domination, that was pretty funny, and all their other antics back then. But I just connected more with like the DX from 2006. And then some other storylines were like I guess like when Mr. McMahon faked his death. I thought that could have taken an interesting turn before the Chris Benoit situation like scrapped the whole storyline. But I think that's pretty much all I can remember from what I liked from growing up. What else? I think that's it for my story of growing up as a wrestling fan. Oh yeah, there's one more thing I want to say. I did watch a little bit of stuff outside of the WWE. I mean, I watched a little bit of TNA, like back in the day. I mean, like I watched a little bit of like 2010 TNA Impact when I was trying to compete with WWE. It was okay. I mean, I only watched TNA for like a year, but then it was like, it's not that great, and it's like presentation as a whole is like, I mean, I like some of the match concepts, like the what is it, like the lockdown match, or like, and I like the six sides of steel concept. I mean, but even though it's just like a steel cage, but it's like a it's like a hexagonal ring, or whatever, or like the what is that match where they have to? It's like the X Division match where you have to go climb the giant X and get the belt. That's pretty cool. That's kind of a cool concept. But I don't know. I don't know much about the TNA nowadays, but who knows? But yeah, I did. WWE wasn't the only thing that I watched back in the day, but I mean, it was mostly what I watched. But now that I talked a little bit about WWE, like my history with it, my upbringing with it, let me see who else is in here. Oh, is it just Call Me Boba? Okay, I think it is. Let me just see who else is in here. Okay, I think that's it. Alright, so let me continue with my story. Or no, let me just continue with the freefall of like what's going on with the WWE right now. Because I feel like as a fan right now of WWE, there's nothing to be excited about, to be honest. there's really not a lot to look forward to. I mean, you have a lot of backstage drama. You have a lot of wrestlers wanting to leave to jump ship to a particular company and All Elite Wrestling. You have a lot of Saudi Arabia blood money, and there's a lot of stuff going on that's not good for the company. And it's the worst thing is the ratings are tanking, and the storylines are really not doing that well. So let's talk about that, because that's like a big chunk of this live stream. So let me talk a little bit about the Attitude Era a little bit, and WCW a little bit, because I feel like that plays a huge role into WWE today. So I grew up obviously as part of like the near end of the Ruthless Aggression and heading into the PG era of the WWE. So with that in mind, I still got exposed to like the Attitude Era, and thank God I did. Because that was like the true like peak of the WWE. That was, like, thank God. There was a lot of good shit in the Attitude Era, and even the Golden Era of WWE. But near the end of the Golden Era, when guys like Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall were leaving the company, it's like, and the steroids allegations with Vince McMahon, it was like WWE was taking a turn for the worse, and WCW saw time to strike when they launched Monday Nitro, and they were signing all the guys that were leaving WWE, and they was launching this Monday Night War with WWE, with Monday Nitro and Monday Night Raw competing one another, with Monday Nitro on TNT, I think I remember, and Monday Night Raw on USA. So it would go on for years. It's like Monday Nitro would win the ratings war for like three years, and that was because I can't remember, but they put on a lot of good content back then, and WWE was just like, I don't know what they were doing, but they shook things up when they went to TV 14 and they saw something that they presented itself. It's like they had this I feel like this is one of the problems that I'm gonna get into later. It's like back in the day, I feel like they were restricted like by their current rating. So I feel like going into TV 14 with the Attitude Era, it's like that helped them get into beat WCW. Plus, along with like the writing, they scripted better stories, and I guess they overall booked better superstars. Again, I don't know I don't know a lot about WWE, like this behind the scenes knowledge, but it's like all I know is that they managed to beat WCW out of business, and Vince McMahon like bought the company in 2001 from Ted Turner over at Turner, but they'll never buy inside the NBA. But yeah, it's like after the purchase of WCW and ECW, it was like there's pretty much nothing. It's like WWE is like the only major wrestling promotion like out there. It's like, what's TNA gonna do? They tried in 2010, but they miserably failed. Dixie Carter can't really challenge Vince McMahon. She doesn't have the resources to do it. Ring of Honor, New Japan, I don't know much about them. I mean, especially New Japan, other than Kenny Omega, but it's like they don't get enough exposure, or other than I don't know how it works. Either they don't get enough exposure, or they don't have enough resources to compete with the WWE. Even though they have a lot of good talent, like in those other companies. So it's like because there's no competition, it's like WWE is like, I feel like they're too relaxed with how they're presenting their product. It's like the product that they're presenting, it's like decreasing in quality. It's like, it's not a thing that just happened like just this year in 2019. If you're a wrestling fan that has watched Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live for many years, it's like, you know damn well that this hasn't happened before. That this just didn't start happening. This has been going on for years on end. I mean, but it's just starting to get worse. Too many start and stop pushes, too many inconsistent storyline decisions, too many booking decisions that often go like haywire. I guess that's the word. Backstage politics that I mentioned at the beginning of this video. There's so many different factors that are negatively affecting the WWE right now. I'd say the only saving grace is NXT, and Triple H is doing one hell of a damn good job down there with NXT Takeover, developing all the wrestlers down there. And let me sidetrack a little bit. I hate the term superstars because I feel like it restricts like the wrestlers from being who they really are. I know, like, I hate using the term sports entertainment too, even though that's what WWE pretty much is, like, in professional wrestling, kind of what it is. But it's like, it's kind of lame. It sounds lame to me. But it's like NXT. I don't watch it too often because I'm a broke motherfucker. Because I don't have the WWE Network, even though it's like $9.99 a month. But yeah, I could pay for like Mortal Kombat 11, Xenoblade Chronicles, which I haven't played yet. Trials Rising, I could pay for all these Switch games, yet I can't pay for the WWE Network for like $9.99 a month. Yeah, that's really sad. But like I said, Triple H does one hell of a good job developing all these wrestlers to be the best with not just their skill in the ring, but with their characters, with their personas, and like to connect with the crowd. It's like every time they put on a show, it's like the audience really connects with a lot of these superstars. I keep saying superstars. A lot with these wrestlers. Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, Tommaso Ciampa before he got hurt. Asuka while she was in NXT with that unbeaten streak. Bayley while she was in NXT. Sasha Banks while she was in NXT. I guess to some extent Charlotte in NXT. Becky Lynch the Four Horsewomen while they were in NXT. Shayna Baszler. I don't know about Shayna Baszler, to be honest. Kairi Sane, Io Shirai. The rest of the Undisputed Era, the War Raiders. No, I will not reference them by their actual name now. There's a lot of people. Oh, Bobby Roode when he was really hot in NXT. Shinsuke Nakamura, Neville, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, like the originals. Like there were so many people in NXT that Triple H really helped grow. But what happened? What's going on? Even though NXT is like the only saving grace in WWE right now, it's like something is wrong. Something is wrong here. And that's because of one person and one person alone. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Yeah, that's right. Vince McMahon is still running the show. No matter what Triple H does, no matter what Road Dogg does, no matter what any writer or producer does, Vince McMahon just steals the show and runs by his ball. If you don't like it, take your ball and get the fuck out. Which is just sucks. Now, don't get me wrong. It's like Vince. He's a hard ass worker. He brought WWE to where it is today. He pretty much I forgot how his story was with WWE. It's like, if I remember, he bought the WWE from his dad, if I recall, and then he went on to expand. Like, if I remember, WWE was like more like regional territory, like with Vince McMahon Sr. And then when Vince McMahon bought it, he wanted to expand it throughout the United States. That's when it started gaining like traction. So when he got traction, then Vince McMahon really wanted to like make it worldwide, more global. That's when WrestleMania started and all that. So a lot of credit has to go to Vince McMahon. But the problem is, it's like he's making WWE like a freaking dictatorship. There's not enough freedom to go around here, people. It's like recent years have shown. It's like whatever he's doing with the company, it's clearly not working. It's like with the backstage stuff, with Saudi Arabia, with the creative direction, with like the wrestlers, the titles, the shows in general. It's not working. Let's start with his number one love with the face of the company. And this goes like many years. It started after Steve Austin left. Like after like Hulk Hogan like left the WWE when he was the face of the WWE for like the better part of like 9 or 10 years. And then after when Steve Austin and The Rock became the technical co-faces of WWE, and then they left, and then here comes John Cena. Right? He gets pushed. It's his like main event push like 3 years after he like develops himself with his rapper gimmick. Then Vince, after he gets his big push, people turn against him, and then Vince McMahon still like pushes him to the moon, and more people turn against him, but Vince McMahon's like resilient. He doesn't care. Then, like, I guess like the takeaway from that is like Vince McMahon like knows his guy. He like wants a muscular guy, but I don't know. Fast forward to today, his muscular guy, his dude that he wants is Roman Reigns. Joe Anoa'i. Remember me talking about Joe Anoa'i, Roman Reigns? Yeah. Apparently, his rise to the top is worse than Cena's, Austin, Rock, Hogan, and etc., etc. People before him. So, Vince pushes a guy that hasn't been in the main event, he has been in the main event, like, if I guess you could count his times in the Shield, like, only twice. Oh, no, once. And that was in a no-holds-barred elimination match against Evolution. That was before his push. So, even though Roman Reigns at the time was, at best, an okay wrestler, we didn't know how he was as a singles competitor. Like, we only knew him as a tag team wrestler before his big push. I mean, I guess if you want to go look back at his NXT or FCW tapes, then he looked pretty okay, but it's clear that he was pretty green in the ring. Vince McMahon just chose him because he was like, oh, muscly, yeah, and he had long hair. But I mean, I don't think the hair makes a difference anyway. But anyway, Vince McMahon chooses a guy that has been hiding behind his tag team partners, has no like mic skills, or has rarely talked, but he has the build, like the physical build. How does that make sense? Steve Austin had the character. Steve Austin had the build, yet he had a character as a rebellious badass who didn't want to take shit from his boss. The Rock had a build. Well, let's talk about The Rock for a second. People hated his first gimmick, Rocky Maivia, but then when he turned heel, people started loving him. Then he became like one of the co-faces of WWE because people loved how funny he was. They wanted to do his catchphrases with him. He organically became popular with people. And to some extent, John Cena too. It's like he organically, like slowly but surely became popular with some people. Cam does Madden 3. Thank you for joining the chat. I used to watch your figure school videos. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I could have done more, but I gave all my figures away. By the way, something to note about my figures, I collected a lot of them and broke about a quarter of them. But anyway, back to John Cena. And let the phone go off while I'm telling the story. John Cena, he had a somewhat organic build. He had the better part of 2.5 years, or was it 2.5 years, or no, it was 2.5 years to build his rapper gimmick. He pretty much had one main event title opportunity at best with the WWE title against Lesnar, but after that he got like a lot of like time to stay in the mid card, and then once he got time to figure himself out, he was part of the final two in the Royal Rumble. Congrats to him. Then he won a number one contenders match. Then he got his big moment at WrestleMania by defeating JBL. Although I wish he could have stayed with the rapper gimmick a little longer, past the 2000s, like at least 1 or 2 more years. But I guess they were running out of material for him. But yeah. It's the FBI. Oh no! Don't arrest me. But yeah, I wish they would push that a little more. But back to my point about Roman Reigns. It's like he had no character. Once he got his push, all he had left was the Shield. Like his Shield vest, which he still has today. The Shield music, which he still has today. It's like there's nothing organic about Roman Reigns' rise to the top. It's like absolutely nothing. I don't know, like why why Vince wants Roman to be the next John Cena. But I have no clue. But I guess so, to some extent, it's like right now it's like Roman's not even part of the main event scene as of this day. But before it was like, oh god. But outside of casuals, like everyone hates the character, not the dude, not the person himself. Everyone hates his creative direction. Everyone hates his persona. Yeah, I agree. I used to like Roman Reigns too, but I just didn't like the direction they were putting him in. But again, I like his personality like in real life. I just don't like him like on screen as a character. But still, he's pushed to the moon, like, especially now with this program with Shane McMahon. Like, seriously. But I guess the positive thing is, like, they're keeping him away from the WWE title for now, until they figure out when it's the right time to put him back. But yeah. So what? Call me Boba. What are my thoughts on Mysterio's new title run? Do they think it'll be better than the ones WWE had previously given? Well, that depends. Because next week on Raw, they're having a State of the United States title address, because it was rumored that WWE, it was rumored that Mysterio got injured in that match against Samoa Joe with, like, a shoulder injury, and he might have, like, they did an angle the next night on Raw, I think, where Samoa Joe attacked Rey Mysterio and, like, to write him off, and Mysterio might have to vacate the title because of the injury, depending on the severity of it. So, like, if Mysterio's not seriously injured, then I hope that WWE gives them a decent run with the belt, because he never held the United States title. But if not, then WWE is probably just gonna give it back to Samoa Joe or something. It's funny how he got booed up until everyone found out he has leukemia. I mean, I guess, yeah, but now that he's back, he still gets, like, a considerable amount of boos, because WWE is still pushing him to the moon yet again. It's like they're not changing anything with Roman Reigns' character. It's like, yes, he's back, but it's like once he came back, it's like he's still the same guy. It's like he's still there. It's like, what am I supposed to be excited about Roman Reigns now that he fought leukemia? I mean, glad that he put it in remission. Good for him. But it's like Vince McMahon needs to do something about his character. It's like, tweak it a little bit. Get rid of the Shield element from it. It's like, we don't need to be reminded that the Shield is still there, especially now that Dean Ambrose is gone. But yeah. Now, moving on to another problem that I have with the WWE right now. It's like the direction that Raw and SmackDown are taking, especially when it comes to writing the show. Because there's a lot of good writers in the WWE. I know there are, because there are. I don't know. There are, like, good writers and bad writers. It's like, I know they have a lot of creative ideas. It's just like, the thing is, they all get turned down by Vince McMahon. And here's the funny thing. I got in a debate a couple weeks ago on Instagram about, like, what needs to change about the product. And here's the most common thing that I heard in that from that debate. We need to change it back to TV 14, so the writers can feel less restricted. The wrestlers just can't connect themselves. The writers lack any creativity. There were a bunch of other excuses that were there, but I probably forgot them at this point. I mean, I can agree with some of those things, like the TV 14 one. I can agree, but from a different perspective. I want to. There was another point I had to make, but I'll sidetrack that to make this point. The let's change it back to TV 14. I think the USA and Fox are trying to push WWE to do that, because the ratings are so bad right now that they need something for WWE to get the ratings back up. So, but the problem is, it's like, even though the writers can feel less restricted and put on a better product, it's like sometimes the execution is, like, really bad. Sometimes it's like they can have this really great idea of, like, say for example, Roman Reigns, like, turns heel, like, by brutally beating up Seth Rollins and giving him a chair shot to the head, which I doubt will especially the chair shot part will likely never happen because WWE is too scared about concussion systems after the Chris Benoit situation. They're probably say for example, they do a Roman Reigns heel turn, and then Roman Reigns goes on this huge tirade, profanity related rant, and then WWE fucks it up by saying, or by having Roman say, "I did it for The Rock." At that line like that, a line like that tells me that someone like Vince McMahon fucked that whole thing up. It's clear. It's clear. But I don't mind them going back to TV-14. But it's just that they have to execute better story. They have to execute their storylines better. The other excuse that I mentioned about wrestlers not being able to connect with the crowd. Yeah, I guess they could say that. I get one side I can be presented. It's the material that Vince presents to the wrestlers that the wrestlers probably don't agree with, but they have to do it anyway. And the other side can be the wrestlers themselves. They just don't have any charisma and they need to improve on it. So it's a 50-50 situation. But yeah. The XFL 2020. Well, what about the XFL? I think the XFL... we'll just have to wait and see because remember, if you don't know, I'll tell you all a great fact. The AAF, the Alliance of American Football, it was supposed to be this minor league for a developmental league for the NFL, but it's they went bankrupt 2 months after the opening season started this year. They were supposed to have a championship game, they were this close to a championship game, but they went bankrupt. It's kind of and I was kind of enjoying the AAF, to be honest, but it's they couldn't keep it under control behind the scenes. But in regards to the XFL, we'll just have to wait and see. There's a lot of noise going on out there. The general manager of Raw is there is no general manager. It's the McMahons running the show. The AAF is I'd say the AAF is more WCW than NXT. It's I say AAF is WCW because they went on to have a really decent start, but then they crashed at the end because they couldn't generate enough money, plus they couldn't generate or they couldn't get help from the NFL in regards to getting more players to come to the league, especially players that were free agents. And I forgot how they got bankrupt in the first, they folded in the first place, aside from bankruptcy and getting enough players. But that's pretty much the main part of it. All right, so back to my other main part of this stream. So Vince pretty much changes the script at the last minute, even though these writers have a really good script for Raw and SmackDown, they come together to write a really great show. Vince comes in, swoops by at the last minute, checks out the script. I don't know if this actually happens, but this is my scenario. Vince McMahon comes in, walks in an hour, maybe even 30 minutes, or even 5 minutes before the show starts, swoops up the script, sees it, and it's I don't like this. Let's rip it up. Let's rip it up and redo it. And it's reported that it's the WWE's a big mess. It's a big mess behind the scenes because Vince McMahon keeps changing everything. And that's why, like, a lot of angles end up not being executed. For example, like the tension between Sasha Banks and Bayley back in 2018, that could have led to a really great feud. It's like say for example, like they could like remember how like Sasha Banks like and Bayley like couldn't like win matches, like I guess, and they were teasing tension, but then like they have that Dr. Shelby segment which was really bad, and then they were like Daniel Bryan and Kane, they had to hug it out, and then next thing you know they become a tag team. It's like, okay, it's like I expect them to I expect one or the other to turn heel on each other. And at one point they were teasing Bayley that they were gonna tease Bayley turning heel, but nah, they kept with the tag team because they were pushing to the moon, teasing so hard about a women's tag team titles. More on titles later because I have so much to say about titles. It just wasn't a good like decision. It wasn't a like feel good moment because like it was another example of start and stop. It's like, or like I don't know. I guess an example of scrapping something that was really good. And then, man, my phone keeps going off today. The over-reliance of the McMahons. So, I mean, this has been going on for years. Yeah, we don't know you. Go away. But anyway, the over-reliance of the McMahons. I mean, this has been going on like since like forever actually. It was okay in the 90s because of the Attitude Era, because like Mr. McMahon was doing anything to get the like ratings back up in the Attitude Era to compete with WCW. But it's like we're in 2019. Hold on, what was that? Daniel Bryan and Rowan is terrible. Why is that even a thing? Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I can agree to that extent. I would say if Daniel Bryan had Luke Harper with him as well and Eric Rowan, they could have like a they could have some kind of Wyatt family, and then you can have Bray Wyatt come back with this new character, and he can feud with Daniel Bryan's like new organic family. So maybe that can be a thing, but it's not. I don't know. I guess it's not. Let me drink some water. So back to the McMahons. It's like out of all the people that they use on TV, they use the McMahons like a lot, like way too much. It's not the 1990s, people. We're in 2019. It's like they used Stephanie back during the Authority. They used Shane still to this day, and it's like it's awful. It's awful. It's like especially Shane. It's like they're putting him in storylines and in a role that he doesn't need to be in. It's like it was fine when he was in a like managerial role like on SmackDown when he didn't show up every week, or like when he showed up like every week on SmackDown he would have like at least 30 seconds or like 1 minute airtime, or when he was there he was just like standing in the background because that's what he was. He wasn't a general manager. He was a commissioner. All he did was like announce stuff and stand in the background. That was all he did when he was first commissioner. But now he's getting involved in so much stuff that he doesn't need to be in. Like the match with The Miz at Mania. I'll admit that was a pretty okay match, but it was pretty much a spot fest for most of it. The steel cage match recently at Money in the Bank, that was very bad. And now he's supposed to wrestle Roman Reigns at Saudi Arabia, Blood Money Round 3. Don't even get me started with Saudi Arabia. And man, that's gonna tick me off. Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. All right, we're back on. Had to get more water, like cold water. So they hold on. Cam does Madden. They want CM Punk back. Well, CM Punk doesn't want to be back. If CM Punk wanted to go back to wrestling, he'd rather go to All Elite because I think their schedule would be. I think they would have a more flexible schedule with All Elite than with WWE. So, I think the best fit for Punk for wrestling would be All Elite. All Elite. So, back to the McMahons. They use Shane way too much, especially with helping wrestlers when he actually doesn't. And it's like, he needs to stop wrestling, man. It's like all he is a stunt double to like he's like a failed stunt double to Thor. And it's like he needs to stop. But I'm just glad that Vince McMahon only shows up here and there. It's like good for them, I guess. But Shane needs to go. And then another notable example was like burying Sami Zayn to some extent. It's like, why are they? It's like Sami Zayn had a good thing going for him. It's like, even though like Sami Zayn's promos were kind of directed against us about how we are as wrestling fans, how the internet wrestling community is in general. It's like he used that promo as if he really meant what he said. But it's like weeks later, it's like he was fed to Braun Strowman in a dumpster. He didn't back up his new attitude against Braun Strowman. He didn't back up his new attitude against Kofi Kingston. So it's like when he gives a promo like he did the night after WrestleMania, or like the weeks preceding that, it's like, why should we believe him after that? I don't know why. And it's not just the booking decisions by WWE with the wrestlers. It's like it's their decision making overall, like on and off camera. And yeah, my notes here says this one thing in particular. Let's start with that. Saudi Arabia, Blood Money round whatever it is for the next decade or so. They signed this deal back in like I think 2018 when they first did the Greatest Royal Rumble, and I was fine with that show, but it was like there's so much shady stuff. And by the way, guys, I'll let you know about this. I'm apolitical. Pretty much that means I really don't. I'm not that interested in politics. I'm not in a political stance. So I'm neither Republican nor Democratic. So I'm just not interested in politics. So, like, even though it's like I'm apolitical, that doesn't mean WWE gets to like run away with their like it dang it. I lost my point. I lost my train of thought. It's like even though I'm apolitical, it doesn't mean it's like what they've done like with Saudi Arabia, it doesn't like excuse the fact that like the country itself has done a lot of shady shit. It's like, for example, the U.S. journalist that got kidnapped and eventually murdered in Saudi Arabia. It's like WWE still went along with Crown Jewel unannounced. It's like that's really messed up. And thank goodness the top stars in Daniel Bryan and John Cena protested and not going. Yeah, I agree. Saudi Arabia shows it has absolutely nothing to do with storylines. It's like the wrestlers that are not going like to Super Showdown 2, if you're still there, they cut your hands off. Look it up if you don't believe me. Yeah, I'll definitely look it up later, like after the stream. But yeah, I'll definitely research it later. But that's interesting to know, and that's not a good look on WWE. It's like, yet they're stuck in this deal for 10 years, but they still go anyway for the blood money. And let me get on WWE for Saudi Arabia for a little bit. They canceled NXT TakeOver 25. That's what pisses me off the most about Saudi Arabia. WWE, like, logistics or not, let's throw logistics out the window. They canceled NXT TakeOver 25 here in San Jose for Blood Money Round 3. That's how much WWE is desperate for money. It's pathetic. It raises even more red flags when wrestlers like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, and Aleister Black are not going to Saudi Arabia. I mean, Sami Zayn is understandable because, like, I think he has like a Syrian background. Don't quote me on that. I just research. And I'm not sure if I did the right research on that. And it conflicts with like Saudi's current issues at the moment. It's like, and the wrestlers that are going to Saudi Arabia, and this is only the male wrestlers because I think the women in Saudi I don't know what happened. I don't know the issue there. It's like they're all in it for the blood money. So the thing with Saudi Arabia, it's like it's absolutely ridiculous, and I'm absolutely pissed off about it. And that's the thing that really irks me a lot about the WWE in particular right now. Another thing is like the dick sucking to part-timers, like especially to Brock Lesnar. Now don't get me wrong. Brock Lesnar is a hard worker, like behind the scenes. It's like, yeah, he seems like a part-timer, but when he shows up to work, he works his ass off, man. It's like, yeah, like on that WWE 24, yeah, he seems pissed off. Like, yeah, I threw the title at Vince McMahon. Oh, no. But it's like, when he works his matches in the ring, he brings his A game, he brings his A game. Just look at the AJ Styles, like the match against AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, Finn Balor. Another good match was, I think another good match was, oh yeah, those were the only couple of good matches that Brock Lesnar has had. I mean, Samoa Joe was pretty good too. Oh, and the match against those were the only couple of good matches. But yeah, that's pretty much. Oh yeah, the match against CM Punk, that was pretty dang good. But yeah, like the dick sucking to Brock Lesnar and all these other part timers, it's really desperate. It's really desperate. Oh, the best thing. Yeah, I mean, I'll give WWE credit for like Titus O'Neil, falling under the ring mat. It's like I'm surprised that's not on like Shacked in a Fool yet. Shaquille O'Neal should definitely put that on a Shacked in a Fool. But back to Brock Lesnar, it's like I feel like WWE is relying on him way too much. It's like that's the problem with part timers. It's like WWE relies on them way too much to the point that they can't trust their current wrestlers that are there. That's why the ratings are down. It's like when you do use your other wrestlers, it's like nobody cares about them because you don't develop them. It's like nobody gives a crap. It's like when the part-timers aren't there and you want to use your other wrestlers, like for example, Ricochet, Shinsuke, who's another Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, or like Bobby Roode. It's like nobody cares. Nobody will care about them because all the time's getting like given to part-timers like Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, The Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. It's like really, really bad. It's like people, like the fans are not gonna care because all the time is being taken up to part-timers. The worst thing is it's like WWE thinks that Brock Lesnar is championship material still, when he's not. He's not. It's like Brock. Like I said, Brock Lesnar is a hard worker, but it's like WWE's presenting him as lazy. It's like when they put him as champion, it's like you're pretty much taking the championship away from the fans. Zack Ryder as the Universal Champion. I mean, anything is possible. I mean, WWE would never do that, but they need water. They need to have water splashed in their face if they do want to give someone an opportunity. But it's like giving the championship to someone like Brock Lesnar. It's like robbing a bank and then successfully. Eventually, WWE and Brock Lesnar lose in that situation because the ratings will still tank when Brock is gone. It's when Brock comes back, the ratings surge up for 1 week or two, when he is there, but it's when Brock's not there, especially with the championship, it's good call, WWE. It's there's no answer with Brock. I mean, I'll admit, Brock Lesnar is a meme machine. He does a lot of meme material, with the jukebox, making the Money in the Bank briefcase a jukebox for all things. I'll admit that was really funny, and he puts a lot of really funny meme faces for no reason. So I give him brownie points for that. But it's WWE thinks Brock Lesnar as if he's championship material, which I do not think at all. And I just don't think Brock Lesnar is needs a title. But that's just my opinion. I mean, especially when SmackDown moves to Fox, and if WWE really thinks they're gonna put a championship back on Lesnar, and they think that that's gonna boost the ratings, I don't think Fox is going to be happy about that. I don't think anyone at Fox is going to be happy at all. Speaking of part-timers, they're a reason why, like, they're one of the reasons why a lot of wrestlers backstage are unhappy. But that actually leads to my next point. There are a lot of wrestlers unhappy, which either A, leads them walking out or leaving, or B, they have their contracts frozen by the WWE. Let's list some of the notable examples, shall we? And we start off the list with none other than the boss, Sasha Banks. So pretty much, if you are a wrestling fan, you already know the story, how this goes. But if you don't know, I'll tell you again. So pretty much, it was reported by various news outlets that Sasha Banks walked out on the WWE after Mania, when she and Bayley learned that, like, the day of WrestleMania, that they were going to lose the tag team title, the women's tag team titles, to the cringe channel-changing carnival show, the Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Heck, I would have been, like, they were, like, at the time, Sasha Banks and Bayley were really upset. Like, reportedly were really upset. I mean, Bayley wasn't as upset as Sasha was, but, like, in those reports, they were said to be really upset. Like, they said going back to the hotel, they were like drooping their shoulders down. They were like screaming really loud. What does it say? Oh, I'll get to it later. So pretty much, yeah, they were really upset that they lost the title, but at least WWE made it up for Bayley by giving her a push, and giving her the Money in the Bank and the SmackDown Women's Championship, which, by the way, I think they should have, like, let it play out a little bit more. Even though they took the belt off Charlotte, thank goodness, but I think they should have let it play out a little bit more. But going back to Sasha Banks, she still, like, hasn't reported back to the company, and I don't know when she will, but I just hope she does, because it's like they're not, like, it's reported that they're at an impasse. They're not getting anywhere with, like, in regards to coming back, but at least, like, on Twitter, she's, like, supporting her, like, co-workers, with Bayley, with Natalia, and, like, at least she's keeping up with, like, what's going on. But hopefully she comes back on whatever terms, and, like, she realizes that what she's doing is, like, pretty much what a specific wrestler that I'm gonna get to next might either work in some kind of other way. Now let's get to, that's actually the next person, Neville. He was the cruise. Now he's Pac in All Elite Wrestling in the Indies. He was, Neville had an interesting, like, story back in, I think was it 2017 or 2008? Last year? No, it was let me know. I think it was like 2000. No, it was 2017 for sure, because he still had the cruiserweight title when I went to Payback. So it was 2017, and he lost the cruiserweight title to, of all people, Enzo Amore. Oh yeah, Neville actually left AEW. Oh yeah, that's right. Neville's now doing the match with AEW. Well, that kind of sucks. I forgot. So let me see that point you made about I'll get to that point later about WWE's roster. So pretty much, Neville lost the Cruiserweight Championship after months of, like, trying to build it up, like, trying to like make it his brand, trying to make every like cruiserweight credible to some degree, and then all that credibility went down the drain for a while, because he lost it to, of all people, Enzo Amore, a person that couldn't wrestle but had all the mic skills. Yeah, if I was Neville, I would have. I mean, I wouldn't have walked out, but I would have been really pissed off. But yeah, Neville walked out. Neville walked out of WWE. He was mad that after months of building up 205 Live in the cruiserweight division, he said, "Screw this! You're really having me lose to this wrestler." But no, I'm out. So he couldn't wrestle for like, I don't know, several months or like a year because WWE froze his contract. He's like, so he was pretty much sitting at home washing his tights. And then I think after that he got his release. Now he's wrestling on the indies. And yeah, apparently he's not wrestling at Double or Nothing. So I don't know what happened there. And then my last person is Jon Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose. However, there's a difference with Dean Ambrose. Dean, like we all know how Dean left. He was reportedly frustrated, according to various news outlets. He is reportedly frustrated with the direction of his character, and the supposed hokey material that he was given by the creative team and by Vince. He was given a big amount of money to stay with the company, but he turned it down, and they said in those reports that he doesn't live that big of a lifestyle. And I like that about Dean. He's really humble, and he doesn't live off of luxury, and he actually saves a lot of money. So I like that a lot about Dean. But the difference between Banks and Neville, it's Sasha's still there, but I mean the difference with Neville, it's and all these other wrestlers that have left in the past, it's like Dean Ambrose left on much better terms. It's like WWE actually announced it months in advance. I think this is because Dean Ambrose actually had an expiring contract, but he chose not to renew it. So WWE went on to announce that, Dean Ambrose has decided not to renew his contract and will be leaving by the end of April. So even though he jobbed out to the likes of Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, he still got a big send off. He's after WrestleMania, he said he got a big farewell to Brooklyn. Then he got one last network special, The Shield, whatever it was, and then he got a proper send off. So that was pretty much it for Dean Ambrose in WWE. But I was actually surprising how WWE handled it. It's Dean Ambrose is trying to leave, but it's we couldn't convince him to stay. I'm all right, let's give him this one last send off. I was dang, all right. Yeah, and I am aware that Harper and the Revival are trying to leave, but it's WWE added months to their contracts, so it's now they can't leave, which sucks. And it's pretty much with this situation with All Elite Wrestling, it's funny because WWE now sees them as competition. Like at Money in the Bank, before Money in the Bank, Stephanie McMahon had this meeting discuss with the talent, saying All Elite Wrestling is competition, and it was a way to motivate like everyone to have a great show. But it's like, how are you supposed to have a great show when you don't put on a great product, like creative in a creative manner? It's like, and when you don't use your wrestlers like in a great way, you use them for like comedy acts, and in a cringeworthy way. But yeah, it's like everyone's like, I guess every wrestler's hearing about All Elite Wrestling, and I guess they hear all the glitz and glamour about the promotion. But more on that in my final segment about All Elite Wrestling. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about all of this. I know everyone, like, not everyone can win. Like, not every wrestler can win. Not all the time can Zack Ryder. Not everyone can, like, win. Like, R-Truth, or, like, everyone in catering can, like win a major match or be in a main big storyline. It's like, but like this writing team, this writing team has to like be given more freedom to like put all these to be able to write all these great stories that they have in mind. It's like, I think I was reading a report earlier today that USA was trying to come up with USA, and I think it was just USA because Fox is not there yet. USA was trying to put out all these ideas to get the show up and running again because the ratings are so down, and all of them were turned down except for the 24/7 title. But it's not the networks, it's not the writers, it's Vince, because Vince keeps getting involved in the storylines. It's like he keeps wanting to put these cringeworthy like stories like Oosty Hot and what was it, like a moment of bliss, or having Alexa Bliss like pretend to have her like top fall off, like T's having her top fall off, or like you see like Braun Strowman eat a cake while having a breakdown. It's like back to my point about TV14. You can change the rating to TV14, but it's like, how is chair shots to the head, how are blood and gore gonna make a great show when the writing is still absolute crap? It's like we need a lot of story. We still need a lot of logical storytelling that makes absolute sense. We need like characters that people can actually connect to, that people can actually relate with, and the wrestlers themselves need to put more effort into this. I know guys like Roman Reigns, I know guys like Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Bayley, and there are a lot of wrestlers that put in a lot of hard work into this business, but the WWE needs a lot of work to put in to get their shit back into it. But it all starts at the top with Vince, and what he thinks he's doing for the shows is good, but when it's actually harming them. But what about Triple H? Like, well, what about Triple H? He runs NXT, but once those stars get to NXT, what happens to them? They become just regular guys. Again, not everyone watches NXT. Not everyone has $9.99 to pay for the WWE Network, even though it's like dirt cheap. But it's not dirt cheap to everyone. Not everyone like gets excited about every person that comes up to the main roster. And let me get on about NXT a little bit. Well, let me finish my point about Triple H. Triple H has input, but it always gets, like every writer, it always gets brushed aside by Vince. Because Vince wants his vision. The old school vision. The muscular guy. The cringe carnival tag team Aussie team, women's team. What he thinks is muscular, funny when it's not. And this leads to a lot of frustration. Like, because I think I read a report that Triple H is among those the most frustrated with Vince because he feels Vince is getting way too much input from people regarding ideas for Raw and SmackDown. And while there are a lot of ideas, they should be like Vince should consider them, and he should let both the writers and Triple H decide, and let him have an input, and then let him lead the decision to the writers and Triple H. End of story. Don't let Vince get involved. But, like I said, not everyone can have the spotlight. But, at the end of the day, Vince just needs to have less involvement in all of this. But, will that happen? Probably not in another couple of years. But, let me talk about, like, before I move on to my last topic, I want to move back a little bit because I forgot to address this. Yeah, like Johnny Gargano, because I want to go back to NXT a little bit. People like Johnny Gargano, Aleister Black, Adam Cole, they put on 4 to 5 star matches in NXT. But what happens when they get to the main roster? It's like, again, nobody knows who they are. It's like they're exposed to a different audience. They're exposed to casuals that don't watch NXT, that don't have access to NXT, that do know NXT but don't watch it as diehard as hardcore or like in the middle wrestling fans. And that the problem with that is let me get back to that. As a result, people don't care, and they lose credibility, like when they have a lot, like unintentionally, and that's WWE's fault because they don't put video packages for these wrestlers as much as they used to, like back in the day, for some unknown reason. I don't know why, when they need to. It's like, I feel like video packages for wrestlers would be a really good thing for wrestlers because it would help promote them. It would help give people a reason to it would help them give a reason to care about these NXT wrestlers. Like, show them what they did in NXT. It would not only convince them to care about those wrestlers, but also to convince them to watch NXT, to buy the WWE Network, ask their parent, especially if they're kids, ask their parents to pay for the WWE Network, and so they can watch NXT. So to watch TakeOver. But alas, WWE doesn't want to promote them. They just want to say, "Oh, here's a guy from NXT. Here's a guy from the main here's an NXT guy from the main roster." It's like only diehards care for him. And it's like everyone else, they're just like, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. But it's pretty disappointing to see. Hold on one second. Let me... forgot to share this on Twitter. Okay. So, another problem is it's like my before I get into All Elite, it's like WWE, it's like they don't promote like their stuff as much as they used to, like back with or they don't follow up with storylines. It's like they do something one week, then they forget something happened. They forget it happened like the next week. And I don't have much to say on it, but it's like, yeah. Oh yeah, and the titles. Before I forget, titles. There's too many of them. I mean, I know the brand. I'll get into the brand split later, but it's like when you have a bad of a creative direction Vince McMahon is putting, it's like the thing that you do to increase the ratings is by introducing more titles. You think that's gonna help the ratings? I mean, what titles have you introduced in the last 2 years? There's the women's tag team titles, which shouldn't have been introduced because there are still not enough women on the roster and not enough tag teams to complement it. And speaking of tag teams, they're all dead. It's like there's no competition for any of those teams. Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, what have they done with the titles? They're practically not on. The Usos are on TV more than they are. The Usos and the Revival. The Daniel Bryan and Rowan. Well, I'll be honest, it's too early to tell what they're gonna do with the titles. But the Iconics, man, the Iconics get on my nerves so bad because it's not their Australian. It's just that it's their gimmick. It's like it's their comedy act, more like their cringe act to say. They're a two women's tag team. You really think that's enough? Kyrie, like the Kabuki Warriors, like you really think that's enough to compete in the to make a tag team division? Again, there are not enough women to make the women's tag team titles legitimate. It's like two teams feuding with one another. It's not gonna work. And speaking of Kairi Sane and Asuka, they've only had like I don't know how many, like 3 matches together at most. I still feel like Kairi Sane and Io Shirai should have stayed together on the main roster, like when they went up to the main roster. I feel this thing with Asuka and Kairi, not to be confused with Kyrie Irving, it feels. I don't feel a connection. It's like I feel more of a connection with the Sky Pirates than I do with Kairi Sane and Asuka. They're just doing this thing with Asuka so they could do so Asuka can do something. Why would they break up the Riot Squad wasn't doing anything anyway. Plus I guess let me retract that actually. No, I'm not gonna retract that. The Riot Squad shouldn't have existed in the first place. I mean, the Riot Squad shouldn't have been with Ruby Riott because they brought up Ruby Riott as a heel when she was at the peak of being a baby face. So that was still one of the mind-boggling decisions that Vince McMahon made. But I guess you have a good point there. But again, there's still too little women that are not in the division. And then let's talk about that 24/7 title. The design is not as bad as people are seemingly making it to be. It's like a really watered down boxing title. The centerpiece does look bad, but it's not bad that I would like, oh my god, get that thing out of my face. It's kind of like it's just like a watered down boxing title. So the 24/7 title, or the catering title, as I like to put it, the title for lower to mid, like to lower, like low mid card wrestlers. Is that really like gonna help like those wrestlers in the wrong? Is that really gonna make them happy? Especially with like when the title's gonna change hands so often. I don't think it's gonna help the credibility of the title. When the hardcore title was introduced, it's like by Mick Foley. It had a lot of like credibility. It had a lot of like prestige, or it had like prestige already with the matches it put on. They have the title so people can keep watching and find out if there will be any title changes. Well, there've only been like 3 title changes so far with Robert Roode, Titus O'Neil, and R-Truth. But I know it's too early to tell if that title's gonna succeed. I'm trying not to be too judgmental about it. But the thing is, it's like they have too many titles. But I guess the 24/7 title, I guess it could be a good way to get everyone involved. But it's like, it's just, I feel like it's too desperate on WWE. It's like, they have to get really creative with the 24/7 title. If they don't want to make it look like it's a title for catering, like for the people in catering. It's like, yeah, like you want R-Truth to like do something like with the title. It's like, have him get pinned at, like, say for example, at a restaurant, or have the 24/7 title be defended in the shower or something. Or have the title like they said this title was gonna be defended across everywhere. Like legends can can vie for the title, NXT UK. Why not have like whoever the champion will be, if it's still gonna be R-Truth by Monday? Why not have R-Truth, or let's say for example, why not have whoever the NXT champion's gonna be at NXT Takeover take the title to Takeover, and like try to test your luck there. So, like, we'll see what the 24/7 title has in store. But all I can say about titles now is like, there's too many of them, and I feel like especially with that 24/7 title, if there's gonna be too many champions in too little time, Nick, exactly. Anybody can win it. That's the thing. But if I feel like there's gonna be too many champions in too little time, it's gonna kill the credibility of the title. Speaking of credibility, again, the Iconics, they haven't done anything since winning it at WrestleMania. All they've done is like, oh, we have 2 belts now, and Becky only has 1 belt. They're a cringe carnival. They've been a cringe carnival since they debuted. So, when are they ever gonna defend it? At least Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder have defended it like more times than the Iconics ever defended their titles. And no wonder why Sasha left for like whoever knows how long she's gonna be out. And I know I'm holding off my last point, but I swear this is gonna be the last thing I'm gonna be talking about. The wild card rule. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. This WWE's most pathetic attempt to end the brand split. All because they couldn't understand how to develop their own wrestlers. They just want to end the brand split so bad so they can have Roman Reigns appear in both shows, so they can have Big Tit Charlotte appear on both shows, so they can have the repetitive man, Becky Lynch, appear on both shows. when she's a Raw Women's Champion, so they can have pretty much almost anybody appear on both shows. It's like, that's why I hated this wild card rule. It's like, especially after the week after the wild card rule went into effect, pretty much anybody, like everyone started appearing on each other's show. It's like Kevin, I don't know who showed up after Monday Night Raw, or no, Shane McMahon started showing up on Raw. Oh wait, no. Oh yeah, I watched Ribs Toy Show. But I don't watch him as much because he started doing a lot of clickbaity stuff. But that's why I was kind of turned off by Grimm's Toy Show as of late. But again, it's like the wild card rule. It's like, it makes no sense because they were supposed to have 3 wrestlers from Raw and SmackDown to occasionally show up every week. But it's just an excuse to have Roman Reigns be on both shows because the ratings are so bad. Now, a week after the wildcard rule went into effect, almost everyone is showing up on both Raw and SmackDown when the brand split is supposedly in effect. I guess not now anymore, because like Becky Lynch appeared on SmackDown this week when she's the Raw Women's Champion. This is ridiculous. And the worst of all, it's like Lacey Evans. Yeah, Lacey Evans showed up on Raw and SmackDown this week. It's like, what? This is WWE's fault. Because, like, when the brand split went into effect in 2016 again, it was a good opportunity for the writers to come up with a compelling show, which they did for SmackDown for a better part of 2 years until they started screwing things up, because I don't know who did what they did. And then it's like they just couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. They couldn't develop compelling stories outside of Charlotte and Sasha Banks, which eventually became a repetitive train wreck. They couldn't put together a compelling story outside of Jericho and Kevin Owens on the Monday Night Raw side. Everything on SmackDown was really well done for the better part of 2 years. But it just goes to show that it's like WWE doesn't trust their talent, like most of their talent outside its like top talent. It's like, don't you want to have almost everyone happy? Don't you want almost everyone to shine? It's like, that's why people don't connect, because it's like, connect with crowds because you don't give them the chance. It's like, if they don't connect, yeah, okay, we get it. It's like, they don't connect. But there's some people with untapped potential that can really get a crowd through the roof if you give them that chance. But WWE doesn't want to give them that chance. Which leads me to All Elite Wrestling. Double or Nothing is this weekend, May 25th. I'm probably going to have to go through some third-party means to watch that show. I watched a little bit of their their Road to Nothing. No, not Road to Nothing. The Road to Double or Nothing shows and the interviews with the co-owner and Cody Rhodes. And I'll give my thoughts on All Elite like when I'm done with this segment. And yeah, I watched their little Road to Double or Nothing videos on YouTube so I can get caught up to speed what's going on. Double or Nothing seems like it's going to be a really interesting show. And all I know about All Elite, it's like it was just co-founded by Cody Rhodes and this tag team known as the Young Bucks, and with really big time support from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, the team that's going to be run by Nick Foles in the fall. And yeah, they have big time support from the owners of the Jaguars, Tony and Shahid Khan, and they're like bigger billionaires than Vince is. It's like, holy shit. And like early in their lifespan, it's like they got a TV deal with TNT. Yeah, it's like now you can collaborate with inside the NBA now. But they're gonna have a TV, like Tuesday TV show in the fall. That's why they probably got the trademark Tuesday Night Dynamite. However, that probably means that NBA players only is probably gonna move back to Monday nights because the All Elite Wrestling deal. I watched a few of their interviews, and it's like something that caught my eye was it's like they want to bring back a sports feeling in wrestling with All Elite. They want to rely less on like the drama, like what did I put here, like on like drama, like with like this, I don't know how I put it. It's like that WWE puts. So they want each wrestler to develop their characters through their ring work. So they want to have their characters developed through their athletic, like their wrestling ability. But I'll be looking forward to Double or Nothing. But some of the key matches I'm looking forward to is obviously Cody Rhodes versus the Rhodes brothers are going against one another one last time, because apparently I think Dustin Rhodes is probably going to have his last match, apparently. And then the rematch between Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega, that match, the first match in Japan, was it the first match or was it I don't know, but that match in Japan was pretty damn good. And the winner of that match will face the winner of the over the budget, like the over the budget, aka the Casino Battle Royale, for the AEW World Championship. So All Elite Wrestling seems like a pretty interesting like thing for wrestling. It's just too early to tell like what's gonna happen with the promotion. Like way too early. We can't say it's gonna be like, even though they have a big financial backing with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and like Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Jericho, Omega claim that they wanna do something different with wrestling. They wanna make it like give it a real sports vibe. It's like we don't know what's gonna happen like with All Elite. It's like we don't know if they're gonna be directly competing with WWE, but that might take years. But Double or Nothing and their weekly TV show and the other pay-per-views that are gonna happen this summer, it's gonna go a long way to like really seeing how like All Elite is gonna really be. It's like whether or not they can really compete with Vince, or if it will just be another WCW or TNA. But we'll just have to wait and see. It can be a big success, or like I said, it could be another WCW. But like I said, it's as the pay-per-view states, for All Elite Wrestling this weekend, it's either Double or Nothing. Ah, see what I did there? But yeah, all in all, as a wrestling fan, especially if you're a WWE loyalist like myself, there's nothing really to get excited about these days. All you can really be excited about is the NBA. Like, there's the NBA playoffs. The finals are coming up. Presented by YouTube TV, by the way. Again, Double or Nothing is happening this Memorial Day weekend. But yeah, if you watch a lot of WWE, it's kind of sucks where they're at right now. It really does, because you have all this, like I said, took out this live stream off. They have a lot of shit going on with backstage morale at an all-time low, with the ratings down, with their relationship with Saudi Arabia, with, of all people, Triple H, being really frustrated with Vince, and people wanting to leave and jump ship to All Elite. It's like, it's a really interesting time for WWE, and Double or Nothing will go a long way to tell if they can really take on the big company in Vince. But yeah, that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for this stream. I know that it was a little bit longer than the first episode, and that was actually a pretty good one, because this was one of these topics that I wanted to get into for a really long time. Wrestling, because it's not just All Elite, it's like my wrestling fandom in general, because I love wrestling. I love watching it since, like I said, 2006, because there are a lot. It's just, it really connects with me. It actually connects to me more than the NFL or the NBA does. And yeah, it's like, it has a really deep connection with me, and it made me a lot of, it helped me in a lot of ways. So thank you again. You can find all the links, like, to my social media in the description. If you would like, make sure you hit the subscribe. You can like or dislike this live stream. You can go check out the live chat to catch up on what we talked about. It was pretty much just one person that was keeping up with the live stream. But thank you anyway for one person, and the other two people that watched this live stream. Anything helps for this live stream. We're just getting started here with DylanLasagna Live. Like I said, I hope to have a set day for weekly to have this live stream, whether I'm in school or not, like, especially in the fall when I start school up again, and especially when I have the summer term coming up. I hope to have a set day with this live stream. But yeah, this is like what I want to do with this, like, with the channel for right now. I obviously want to get back to doing, like, all the other variety content with, like, gaming and reactions, and more, like, shorter form discussions. And yeah, I hope to get the channel back to where it is. Alright, everyone, thank you for checking out the stream, and always be delicious. I'll see you next week.